Welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health, a podcast of resources for restoring vigor and vitality, bringing you top influencers in the men's health arena, case studies of men who have succeeded and how they did it, and cutting-edge teaching on men's health issues from America's leading men's health guru, Dave Skattum. Get ready to take steps towards good health. Here's your host, Dave Skattum.
Hey, welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health. This is the Triathlon edition, or couch potato to Ironman. So happy you're here, and welcome to this program. I look forward to this. This is one of my passions. I love triathlon. I love doing Ironman. I love the training and the impact that it has on me as a person, not only physically, but emotionally, mentally, all of those things. And I'm really excited that you're here to learn more about it and possibly jump in and join. It's a lot of fun. It's a great community. Today, I'm going to cover basically 3 things in this session. And I'm going to go for some deeper dives in the near future, videos and blogs and things like that. But today I'm just going to cover like the surface of triathlon and Ironman. I'm going to talk about what is it? What is we say Ironman, triathlon, what is all this stuff? And then I'm going to talk about why it's good for you and what it's like and some of my experiences with the Ironman and triathlon. So let's just jump right in. So what is it? A triathlon, 3 things. Tri stands for swim, bike, and run. So you do all 3 of those things in one event, in one session. And so a little background history. It started in 1974 in California. Couple guys got together and they decided to see who could, be the best swimmer, best biker, best runner, all around athlete. And then it really blew up or got more popular or notoriety, more popular, I think, in 1978 when a few guys did the full, what we call an Ironman in Oahu, Hawaii. And that's where it really, these guys were tough and it got pretty incredible during that time. Now, when you talk about Ironman, I think you think about these long events where you're out there all day. I mean, the longest one, well, there's Ultra Ironman, but the longest official Ironman is a little over 2 miles swim, 112 miles on your bike, and then you run a marathon. And it's just grueling. I mean, sometimes you think of just doing a full, one of those events would be like over the top, like just doing a marathon would be incredible. But then you stack that on with these other things. It's pretty amazing. But you don't have to go to that extreme. And to be honest with you, I don't know how healthy it is to do that much physical exertion in one day, especially as you get older. But I still do it, and I love it because I love it. I don't know, whatever. I don't know how healthy it is, but some of the shorter events, there's actually, let me divide it up into 2 categories. One is Ironman, the other is triathlon. Triathlon is more of an umbrella idea, and it includes Ironman, but it also includes what we call super sprints. And a super sprint, you can get that done in less than an hour. It's like 450-yard swim, something like that, a 6-mile bike ride, which is fairly easy, and a 1.5-mile run after that. So it starts really easy, and you might consider, if you're just thinking about getting into it, you might consider just jumping into that one first. Find one locally. Do it yourself. Do it yourself. That'd be fun. And then it goes from that, that's a super sprint. Then it goes to a sprint, which is a little bit longer, about double. And then the Olympic size one, which is a bigger one than that. And then after that, that's when it gets into the Ironman. And it starts with the half Ironman. And that's you can also call it a 70.3 because when you add up all the mileage, that's what you come up with. It's like I'm gonna get this wrong, but it's a 1 point something mile swim. It's about 56 miles on the bike, and then a half of a marathon, so it's 13 miles on running. And then you got the full Ironman, which is 140 miles total. So you see little bumper stickers. It's like 140.6. That means that person's done the Ironman, or at least he has the bumper sticker for it. But that's like massive. That's like I described earlier, over 2 miles of swimming, 112 miles on the bike, and then a full marathon, 26.2 miles, I think it is. And so those it's like a broad spectrum of what it is and how you can do it. And you don't have to jump into it. In fact, don't jump into the longer ones first. Try out the little ones, because you're going to want to learn how to do what we call transitions. And a transition is a spot in the race or the competition, or for me, it's just an event, because I am just competing against myself. And I'm usually in the lower percentile, and it's got like make it to the finish line for me. That's my goal. But there's actually 5 parts to any Ironman or any triathlon. There's first the swim, and then you got T1. That's transition 1. And that's where you get out of the water, you take off your swimming gear, and you put on your biking gear. And you have certain times, and there's ways to be if you watch these professionals, they got this stuff dialed in, and they can get in and out of transition in no time. It's just like amazing to watch. It's like they got this down a clock. I mean, they train for transition so they can shave off minutes off of their Ironman. Then after that, then you got your bike, and you go through the biking process, and then you get off your bike and you get into transition 2. And that's usually back at the bike rack where the bikes are stored, just like in transition 1. But each Ironman triathlon is different. But you go to T2, and that's where you get out of your biking stuff and you put on your running stuff and you take off on your run. And then you do on your run, and that's the 5th part. And when you're done with your run, you're done with the event. Now, some of these, the Ironman, the 2 Ironman, the full Ironman, and the half Ironman, some people call them short course, long course. They do have, these things are dialed in, so you have to get to a certain point at a certain time. Like if you get out of the water in less than a certain amount of time, they pull you out of the race. If you don't get to a certain point halfway through the bike, usually these events will pull you out of the bike or out of the whole event if you can't make it to a certain place during the bike. And then they give you a little bit more flexibility on the run, although there is, like on the long course, for the 40.6, I think it's 17 hours is generally the time. And if you go over 17 hours, you're not an Ironman. DNF, did not finish, or if you finished, you didn't qualify to be an Ironman. It's such a bummer. And there's a whole thing about the bus that comes around, picks up the guys on the bikes that don't make it, and it's kind of embarrassing. And you know from experience, I've been there. So anyway, so that's kind of a breakdown of what is a Ironman, what is a triathlon. And I hope that helps. Now let's get into why is it good for you? What is it about triathlon Ironman that is so good for you? And the first thing I think of for me is it's a full body workout. I mean, you have to be, especially when you get up into the higher, longer ones, you have to be mentally prepared for that stuff. And so it helps you mentally, it helps you emotionally, but it also is a full body workout. The swim, upper body, and just running is upper body, core strength. And then when you get on the bike, it's a whole different set of muscles. Biking and running are somewhat similar, but there are different muscle groups that you use. But it works out your full body. And I think that's really great. Another reason why I think it's healthy for me and for other people is it develops discipline. I mean, when like this year, I'm training. This is 2022. I'm training for Tulsa, Oklahoma in May. That's the full thing. And I've never done the full one. I've failed a few times, but I've never done the full one. I'm going to look forward to this one. And but I started training back in November for this thing. So I'm like months ahead of time. I'm working on this thing, and I'm feeling pretty good about my training. No injuries, and things are going. I'm climbing in my fitness and endurance and things like that. And it's I think it really helps with my discipline, because every day I know that I gotta do something for my Ironman that's coming up in Tulsa. And if I don't, it's going to be like big DNF, and I don't want to do that again. So that's what it helps with discipline. Another advantage to the multi-sport program of triathlon, swim, bike, and run, is that it's minimizes or reduces repetitive training injuries, and there's cross training involved. For example, one time years ago when I was training, I fell off my bike and I trashed my shoulder trying to catch myself. And even though I couldn't swim anymore because of my shoulder injury, I could after a while, after a few weeks, I still ride my bike and I could still run. And the same thing happens. One time I got a knee zinger, and I had to lay back on my running a little bit, but I could still bike and swim. So there's if you're training to just run a marathon and you're constantly running, 4, 5, 6 times a day, you're banging those legs and banging those knees. And it's with triathlon, you're always doing a different activity. So I think that's really good for you too as well. So full body workout, full mental workout, a full emotional workout, reduces repetitive training injuries. You get cross training in there, develops discipline, all those things. That's why I think Ironman and triathlon are good for you. Now, what is it like? What is it like when you go out and do these triathlon? Now, there's this whole culture, especially when you get into Ironman events, into those higher distance events. But there's lots of local clubs that have their own culture, and it's just a lot of fun. But when you get into the higher intensity stuff like half Ironman and Ironman, it gets a little bit crazy. First of all, the first event is always the swim. And so what happens is you're usually in a wetsuit, full wetsuit. And so you're everybody's like jammed in onto the beach or the edge of the river or whatever. So you're sitting there with your swimsuit on, tight, jammed into this thing. And then you're also jammed into a little space with like hundreds of other really super nervous people. And so that's how it starts off. And then, the first thing that happens is they kind of space you out in that swim. And they put the pro group first, the people they know they're going to swim. And then it's basically, based on what you think you can do in the event. So they space you by timing, and you choose the place where you think you're going to finish in your time. And that's how you do it. That's how that starts off. And you're running out. Sometimes you run out the beach. The one time this last year I went to Oregon, and they had this really fun place where you went down this trail, and then you walked down this boat ramp kind of thing, and you jumped in the river and swam down the river, and that was a lot of fun. So each one is a little bit like Coeur d'Alene is you jump in on the beach. Up in Whistler, it's a lake, a mountain lake. So you're jumping in right off the edge of the lake across the beach. And so everyone is a little bit different, but it's the same case. You're all categorized in by how fast you think you're going to go, and that's how you start the swim. And then you do the swim, you get through, and sometimes I remember in Coeur d'Alene, when I did this Coeur d'Alene one, I looked out, they have these buoys in the water every 100 yards. And I looked out in Coeur d'Alene, it was foggy that morning, and I looked out and those buoys kept going farther than I could see that morning. I'm going, what am I doing here? I don't even know if anybody could swim that far. So it's ominous sometimes, but usually it's really early. It's just like pretty cold for the swim, and you're out there, and sometimes when you're swimming, the sun's just coming up, and if you're swimming in the wrong direction, you get flashed by the sun, and Anyway, that's crazy stuff that happens. Then when you get out of the water, wherever it is, usually have a nice ramp that goes up into the transition area, which is usually jam-packed with all the bikes. Well, it is jam-packed with all the bikes every time because that's the next event. And you take off your swimsuit and you get on your, all your biking gear. And usually the day before, you packed your bike in there and everything's ready, set up. All you do is take off the bike rack and put on your helmet and your shoes, and off you go on your bike. And then you pedal on the course. Usually the courses are really well marked, and almost every time they're well supported, so you can stop and get water and nutrition usually as often as you need it, and you dial that in your training. So you figure out how much water you're going to need for hydration, how much nutrition you're going to need to keep your body running, that motor running that long. And usually in these events, they have all these aid stations along the way in the bike and the run. They don't have them out in the water, but usually the water is usually less than you can handle it without nutrition. So a couple quick stories about, just to give you a flavor for me about what happened. My first big triathlon, I did a couple of local triathlons, small mom and pop kind of things, and they're like super fun. And I always encourage people to do that. Those are so much fun. They're more low key, and they're just so much fun. But my first one was in Idaho. They don't even do that one in Idaho anymore. And it was down a swim down a river, and then the bike was just like around a bunch of laps around this town. We went, I don't know how many laps, and then the run was pretty fun. We went down and around. But that event, I did complete. That was a half Ironman, 70.3. But I remember one of my most vivid memories is I had my triathlon, my swimsuit on. And for some reason, I don't know why I did. Those things are so hard to get on. And anybody who's tried to put those on, if you're a swimmer, diver, or whatever, you know how hard those things are to get on. But this is my first one, and I put my suit on backwards. So it was inside out. And I still remember these young guys that were so, they're super competitive type A guys. And they were like, look at that guy over there. He's got his suit on inside out. And then I got done with my swim, and I pulled out some events. They have what they call strippers, and they help you take these swim suits off. And so this guy was trying to he goes, I think you got this thing on backwards. He's trying to unzip it for me. And finally we got that thing off, and it was hilarious. And then I still remember the end of that race. Man, I put it all out there, man. And I got done with that thing. And I still came in, bottom probably 10 or 15%. But I came in there and I almost like dropped over dead. It was horrendous. It was horrendous. And I'm surprised I kept going after that event, because that was hard. I laid on the ground groaning for probably like, I don't know, an hour or something like that. People were walking around, making sure I'm okay. And I just had to recover from that. And then I had to drive home, and it was like a huge thing. But so that was my first like big one. And I look back on it with mixed emotions. I completed it, but man, it was like by the skin of my teeth, and it was tough on me. But here's another one. A local one here in the Southwest Montana area. We did one. It was called it's a kind of a backcountry one. I can't remember. It's not a mudder, but it's I can't remember the name of it. But you do mountain biking instead of road biking. And it was a high lake swim. And I was like in prime shape, and it was like a sprint. It was shorter one. I can't remember. Maybe it was Olympic. And I just I was, I don't know, 50, 55 years old. And I killed it, man. And I was passing all these, my swim is probably my weak link. So I come out of the water usually, near the end of the group. And then I join in, and I was passing people on my bike. And then I got out of my run. I had lots of energy, and I felt good. And I remember just passing all these young guys. It was so much fun. A lot of times you're the guy that's getting passed, but this one, it was so much fun. Just cruising around these guys. And then at the end, these young guys were coming up to me and I said, wow, you're in good shape, man. It was just a good feeling that I was able to. And I also qualified for one of the Olympic, I can't remember, U.S. Triathlon event for that one. And so it just made me feel really good. And then there's other ones like I've gone up to Whistler, Canada twice, and both times I bombed out. And it's so hard because you put so much effort into this thing. And the first time in Whistler, it's in a high mountain lake and pretty cold water. And I wasn't used to wearing earplugs, but I went out swimming in that lake, and it was so cold that it started hurting my ears. And so I went and found some earplugs, and they were like, I'm in construction, so I found these construction foam ones, and for the race, I stuffed them in my ear. I thought, that'll work pretty good. So I started swimming. I made it halfway through. I made it a mile on the swim, and one popped out, and it felt like that cold water entered my ear canal, and it felt like somebody just went bam with a hammer or something. But I kept going, and then it wasn't long, and then another one popped out, and then the guy he said I was swimming in circles. So he grabs my sweatsuit, pulls me into the boat, and I'm out of there. That's pretty embarrassing. And then the second time I made it through the swim, but I couldn't do the bike because it was so much elevation, and I hadn't trained for I don't know what it is, 5,000 or 6,000 feet of elevation gain on a bike, and plus going 112 miles, and I didn't make it under the time. So I bombed out both times. So there's good and there's bad, and but that's like life, isn't it? That's how life is. There's ups and there's downs, and there's working hard and failing. There's working hard and there's winning. There's working hard and exceeding your expectations, and that's how triathlon and Ironman are. And I would just really encourage you to get involved with an Ironman sometime. Just get in there. And if you watch any of my other stuff, you know how I started on my bike. I started with an old piece of junk, like a Huffy, I can't remember what it is, that I found in the dump. And I started riding that thing. It killed me the first time I went on there. And then my swimming, when I started swimming, I didn't know how to swim. And my first swimming experience was so embarrassing. But you can overcome those things, and you can do it. And you can get healthy with these Ironman things and these triathlon things. And I encourage you to check into it and start small. Start with the short ones. Find a local one. And it's really fun. And just have a lot of fun with it on the first one. And just do it. So I'm going to be talking about in the future, I'm going to be talking about the importance regarding in this whole Ironman triathlon, getting your butt off the couch and becoming an Ironman. I'm going to be talking about why it's important for you to get off the couch. What is it that you need internally to get you up off the couch and get you out the door and onto a bike or into the lake or pond or swim at the swim lanes at the local swim pool or running down the road? What is it? You've got to have something. There's got to be a spark, something that gets you up off the couch. Something that when you say, "Man, I want to drink that drink or eat that piece of junk food," and there's got to be something in you that checks you and says, "No, don't do that." And I'm going to be talking about that in our next one. And then we're also going to be talking about more sessions. And a really exciting thing to me about this whole program is my interview with a guy named Brian Grasky. And he's an F-16 fighter pilot turned Ironman triathlon. And he was like a competitive guy. He was good. And then he retired from that, and now he's a coach. And you gotta listen to that recording. It's amazing, his story and his ideas on helping you take steps towards good health. So I hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for the next one. You'll be getting it soon. And I look forward to this, like encouraging you and supporting you in this endeavor. Get a hold of me and let's get this thing rolling in your life. Become an Ironman. Get off that couch. Don't be a couch potato. Become an Ironman.
You've been listening to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health with Dave Skattum. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit the4pillarsofmenshealth.com.